You know, Dinesh D'Souza makes these fantastic movies, as he used to write fantastic books. And he works very, very hard at this, because it's very, very hard to be an independent producer and director of your own films, but he has done it. And he's got a real winner out there, Vindicating Trump. A brand new movie. The time is perfect. Dinesh D'Souza, how are you, my friend?
Mark, I'm doing great, and thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
It's a great pleasure. So let's start from the beginning here. Give us an idea why you decided to do this particular movie. And you always have these headwinds you got to deal with, you know, the theaters and the rest of it. And then sort of a synopsis, and I don't want to talk about the theaters and so forth. So go right ahead.
Well, the reason we do the movies is because the theaters are a way to do a little bit of an end run around the mainstream media. They're also a way to avoid the digital censorship that is out there. And so we opened the movie in 850 theaters. It was awesome. And this past weekend. And it, in a way, brings the centerpiece of the film is a one-on-one with Trump, in which I tried to bring out a private aspect of Trump that people see up close, lots of people, including me and my family, and we realized that Trump, because he has kind of a manly resistance to showing feelings, showing vulnerability, he doesn't like to put that part of himself out there. So I wanted to show people the kind of tumblers of Trump's mind. I wanted to show people how Trump looks at certain types of issues. And I'm excited to say that he allowed me to do that, and I think that's part of the highlight of this film.
About how much time did you spend with him?
We just did a 45-minute conversation, but it was right after the assassination attempt. Trump was in a very deliberative mood. We were sitting really up close, and I was able to sort of startle him with certain types of questions that come out of the movie. Like one of them I asked him was, I said, look, they keep saying that you called for an insurrection. And as far as I can see, you didn't do that. You didn't tell people, go in the Capitol, disrupt the count, stop the count, take over the place. None of that. I said, but had you called for an insurrection on January 6th, there would have been one. And there would be one if you called for one now. So what does it mean that you have this kind of power? And it's very interesting to see Trump kind of, his eyes kind of widen, and then he responds to it. But I don't think it's something that he had been asked quite in that way before, and so you begin to see how Trump processes this kind of information. I also talked to him about a speech that young Lincoln gave, the Lyceum speech, in which Lincoln predicts the arrival of a dictator. And I said, the left goes, hey, yeah, that's you, that's Trump, and have Trump respond to that. So it's a very interesting centerpiece of the film, and of course we have the Trump story, we have exciting recreations, a lot of elements that make my films very cinematic, because we make them for the theater.
I was going to say, your films are entertaining, they're intriguing, they grab you, you've got wonderful music backgrounds. I mean, these are really professional films. How did you learn to do this? Or it was just, let's try this and get it done?
Well, I didn't do it by going to film school, that's for sure. But what happened, Mark, is I kind of backed my way into the first one, which was the one about Obama 10 years ago. I've now done, this is my 8th documentary. So I think over time, our little film team, we're about 5 of us, we've gotten really good at it. And we also we understand that the way to make a good film is to make it entertaining, to make it a narrative. A lot of the elements of a good nonfiction film mirror a feature film. So feature films have characters, they have plot, they have suspense, they have a climax, they have a musical score that provides the emotional underpinning of a film. So we are very careful to put all these elements in the movie. And if you do that, you have a successful movie. You can do messaging, but you can't make a movie simply for the purpose of messaging.
Mm-hmm. So you were in 150 theaters.
No, 850.
Holy mackerel. That's huge.
Yeah, it's a wide release. You know, in the last couple of films, because of the aftermath of COVID, I wasn't able to do that. But this is my normal model. This is how I released the Obama film, Hillary's America, Death of a Nation. So we're back to our traditional model of releasing the film wide in theaters around the country, because a lot of people otherwise become frustrated. The films you can watch them, later on a computer, on a phone. It's a completely different experience to see it with like-minded people in the theater. And that's really that's what I keep in mind when we make these movies.
You're 100% right. Sitting there with a bag of popcorn, there's nothing like it, I think. A Diet Coke and a popcorn and maybe Hershey bar and maybe more than that. That's just me. Let me ask you this. The president see the film?
The president has the film. He saw the film. He made a very nice video promoting the film and saying that it's like very unique. And I think that is kind of right. The weird thing about Trump is he's different than Reagan in this respect. Reagan would stand up in a campaign speech and make the case for Reagan. Trump kind of does his own shtick, but he doesn't really make the case. He doesn't say, here are 7 reasons to vote for me, or here is a defense of my character. Because, as you know, Mark, there are even Republicans who will say, well, you know, I don't like the guy, but I like his policies. Or they will say, he needs to shut his mouth. Or, Dinesh, please tell him to stop tweeting, and so on. It's almost like there are Republicans who want to remake Trump. They want a new and different Trump. They want to rehabilitate him in some way. And part of what I argue in the film, and by the way, there's an accompanying book of the same title, is this. We don't need to remake Trump. Trump is actually extremely well-suited for the kind of crisis and challenges we face as a country now. He may not be the perfect guy for every time, but he is the perfect guy for this time.
And that is perfectly put, quite frankly. I've said, folks, this man's a historic figure. He's a man of the time. This is the man we need. And it may take several decades. It may take half a century. But this is the kind of guy with the kind of grit, the kind of personality, the communication that's needed right now. These tight tie, tight collar, perfect hair, same suit every damn day, politicians. It won't work. It's not going to work. Vindicating Trump, where do people go? They want to find out the theaters and get tickets.
Mark, the one-stop shop is the website. It's vindicatingtrump.com, vindicatingtrump.com. And the great thing is you just plug in your city or your town and boom, all the theaters around you will pop up. So go see it with friends and family this week or this coming weekend, because this is a powerful message that needs to get out there.
And now more than ever, because the election's 5 weeks or so away, and that's very, very close. And you're right. All the propaganda from the so-called media is going in one direction. They're raising hundreds of millions of dollars to use against him and the Republican candidates and so forth. So when we have an opportunity, when somebody like Dinesh D'Souza, he's not only good at making films, guy's brilliant, puts together a film like this, the more people who see it, the better. If you have people sitting on the fence, people you know, families you know, they're the ones you need to take to the theater. Give it to me again. Vindicating Trump. What? I'm sorry. It's
the website, Mark. Vindicatingtrump.com. Vindicatingtrump.com, and that's where you can get movie tickets. You can pre-order the book and share it share this movie with other people, because they'll be fired up. And there's nothing quite like seeing it with like-minded people. Very often at the end of the movie, the whole theater will stand up and burst into applause. It's really quite both an intellectual and an emotional experience.
Certainly is. It's a fantastic movie. You can go see it, well, anytime, but this weekend will be a perfect time to see it. Vindicating Trump is the name of the movie. You know Dinesh D'Souza. When you interviewed him, was there something, and you say you know him, I've gotten to know him extremely well, and you're right, there's a side of him that people don't get to see. Really down to earth, really compassionate. Was there something that you saw in him or learned about him that was surprising to you?
Well, the very first time I met Trump, my wife posed to him the question, you get slayed on every platform, every second of every day. No normal person could take this kind of a beating. How do you do it? How do you endure it? Does it get to you? And, we kind of expected Trump to go, ha, 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 these people are crazy. No, it doesn't get to me. They're idiots and so on. But he didn't. He sort of sat back and he goes, guys, because I got to admit, at the end of the day, it does get to me. He goes, because I'm trying so hard for the country, and even when I have a success, they won't give me the credit. And interestingly, Debbie and I, as we left, we were looking at each other and we're saying, that was a kind of an interesting exhibition of just a moment of vulnerability on Trump's part. And my wife was like, if more Americans could see this side of Trump, they would immediately warm to him. So right then I said to myself, if I ever get a sit down with Trump, I'm going to try to bring that aspect of Trump out, because I do think, look, everybody can see from the 2 assassination attempts, this is a man of sublime courage and bravery. No other living person that I know would react in that way. And any other Republican facing 91 criminal charges, facing 2 criminal charges, would have long fled the field and be out of the race.
This is a very important point you make. That's why I said this man is a historic figure. Assassination attempts, bogus criminal charges, in front of Democrat judges for the most part, Democrat juries for the most part, the attempt to bankrupt him, 2 phony impeachments, criminal investigation, basically as soon as he took office the first time, these constant efforts to sabotage him, the unrelenting media effort to dehumanize this man. Have you ever, you're a man of history, so am I, have you ever seen anything like this?
I never have. And in some ways, Mark, I think the whole thing is captured by Trump. Remember that iconic scene of Trump going down the escalator in 2015 when he first announced for president? It's almost like I imagine all the cultural elites at the top of that escalator with Oprah and Charlie Rose and all the cool people. And what does Trump do? Significantly, he gets on the escalator, he goes down, he descends. And I imagine the forgotten Americans, the people who have been screwed over by both parties, all at the bottom of that escalator. And he doesn't have to take up their cause, but he does. And that's why they're so loyal to him. And yet, from the point of view of the elites at the top of the escalator, they see Trump as a sellout. Well, he's selling out our class. He's joining the pitchfork people and taking up their cause against me. So right there, you begin to see how his former friends and admirers became suddenly his deadly enemies.
I coined the phrase many, many, many years ago on this radio show, right, Mr. Producer, that he is a blue-collar billionaire. He is more blue-collar than Joe Biden has ever been, way more blue-collar than Harris has ever been, brought up by 2 elite radical left-wing professors pretending she worked at McDonald's. Well, maybe she should, but she definitely shouldn't be president of the United States. Folks, go see this movie. It is a fantastic movie. The election's 5 weeks away. Bring everybody you can think of. You'll have big supporters there who will go out and push the cause. VindicatingTrump.com. Get your tickets. Find out where the theater is. VindicatingTrump.com. Our man, Dinesh D'Souza. God bless you, my brother.
Hey, thank you so much.
Take care of yourself. Guy's terrific. By the way, he's come under unrelenting attack. Always. Well, so do I. It's just the nature of the beast.